it's Mike. Sorry for the lack of content for the last few months, everyone will realise why that's the case. We can now start filming again because where we live, the lockdowns are eased enough that we can film. It would be safe to do so, so we'll use our own dice and range rulers and things. And we'll leave you to watch the episode. Enjoy. Hello, I'm Mike, this is Will, we are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're reading issue 6 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms today. And with this issue we got the Thorns of the Briar Queen. So this is a named character, the Briar Queen, and 6 Chainrasps. And as always, if you want to skip straight to the playthrough for this issue, there is a time code in the description. A quick look through the issue now. First up we have the backstory of the Briar Queen herself. So she was once a powerful wizard who tried to invade the city of Shadespire, but unfortunately lost and was imprisoned in the Night Vault inside the city, and over time was driven mad by her isolation. But thousands of years later, the city fell to Nagash, and the Night Vault was opened, and Nagash found the lingering spirits of the people who were imprisoned there within, and thought might as well put these people to use. So the Briar Queen now sort of rules over the city and punishes anyone who tries to enter. And it also mentions here some of the Chainrasps who form up her little entourage, and some of them have backstories as well. And got some backstory of Shadespire itself. City stuck in between dimensions, so it is in the realm of Shyish, but also in a pocket dimension at the same time, which makes getting out of the city quite difficult. And here we have some backstory on Steelheart's champion. So these are a small unit of Stormcast Eternals led by Severin Steelheart, who were sent into the city of Shadespire to assist a Knight Questor who is investigating the city. And we've got some backstory of Shade Glass, which is one of the materials that Shadespire is known for. Part of the reason why people go there and end up trapped there. It's some part of the Chronicles of Terror, Part 1, going to the history of the Nighthaunt, but this is actually prior to the Necroquake, so there isn't that much history of them, unfortunately. So there's a little bit on the Age of Myth, and here on the Age of Chaos, you've got the backstory of some of the named Nighthaunt characters like Kodos Valentian and Lady Olinda, rulers of various empires on Shyish during the Age of Chaos. And now we have the build guide for the Thorns of the Briar Queen. So they are easy to build, so they push fit together. As it does mention here, be very careful clipping some of this stuff off the sprue. It can be very fragile, particularly the Queen's Whip. You've got the Briar Queen, you've got Varclav the Cruel, the Everhanged, and then the 4 other Chainrasps, who are fairly easy to put together. And here you have a painting guide. We'll also be learning a new technique, dry brushing. Obviously, we begin by undercoating our new Nighthaunt models with Corax White, and then going over with Nihilak Oxide. And now we're going to dry brush them with Corax White. So as the guide explains, you load up the brush with paint, and then you rub most of it off using a bit of tissue. There's only a little bit of paint left on the brush. Then you lightly drag the brush across the raised areas of the model, and it leaves part of the paint behind without obscuring the details. So it sort of highlights the edges. And it does go a little bit here about how to fix any mistakes if you accidentally put too much on. But once you're finished, you should see you've got something like this, where all the raised edges of the model are highlighted with white. With that over, we'll be on to our playthrough for this issue, where the Briar Queen will be facing off against Xandria Azurebolt in an arcane duel.
So here we are on to our games for this issue. And we remember that in the previous issue we got Xandria Azurebolt, who is a wizard for the Stormcast Eternals. Apparently her spellcasting has summoned a Nighthaunt wizard, the Briar Queen. So there would be an arcane duel kicking off. So over the page we jump straight into the Briar Queen's turn. She is a wizard as well, so like Xandria she can cast Arcane Bolt. You can see here it works exactly the same way. She needs to roll 2 dice in her hero phase, and if the roll is greater than or equal to 5, then the spell is cast, doing a mortal wound, or d3 if the roll is 10 or more. But what's new is, because we both now have wizards, we can unbind each other's spells, so when one player casts a spell, the other can roll 2 dice as well. If they exceed the roll, then that spell is unbound and doesn't have any effect. And once the hero phase is done, the Briar Queen can move 6 inches, and she also has a shooting attack she can use, which is her Rending Scream. And this uses 3 dice, which hit on 3 pluses, and then it goes straight to damage, with the rules we've got at the moment doing 1 damage for each hit. And then once all that's done, we move on to Xandria's turn, and as usual she can cast Arcane Bolt, but the Briar Queen might be able to unbind it this time, and she can move and get into combat within 3 inches, though obviously she's not going to be that in the first turn. And then we go back to the Briar Queen, and she only has 1 attack at the moment, which is her shooting attack, but she can use that in melee. And then obviously back to Xandria's turn. She might be able to get into combat in her second turn, just as in the last issue, but I'll just quickly run over her combat rules. She has 3 attacks that hit on 3s, and if they hit, they do d3 damage each, so she's a bit better in melee than the Briar Queen. That's it for our new rules. On the last page we've just got the War Scroll here for the Briar Queen, which explains all that stuff in one place. And then at the bottom there's a suggestion that if you want to try the game again, you can add the Gryph-hound to the Stormcast forces and the Thorns of the Briar Queen to join the Briar Queen herself. So we will get onto that once we've played through the first game a couple of times. And it just gives their War Scrolls here for using them. Here we have our battlefield set up. We've got Xandria on the left and Briar Queen on the right. And as we said in the intro, we're still filming this in time of COVID-19, so just taking a few precautions. We're obviously sitting on opposite sides of the table, and we've also got our own dice and range rulers, so we're not going to touch each other's models. But, well, the Briar Queen gets to go first.
Yeah, we have the hero phase, so I'll try and cast Arcane Bolt. T6 need to roll a 5 or more. I got a 9, so it's successfully cast. So now you can attempt to unbind the spell, but you'll need to roll a 10 or more.
Indeed, so using my dice, I have not, I've rolled 6.
So it is successfully cast, and Xandria takes a wound, so she's down to 4.
And as before, we're using the dice to count down the number of hits she has left remaining, rather than the number she's taken. Just slightly different to the magazine, but that's how we prefer to do it.
I get to move, but I'm not going to move. I have a ranged attack, there's no need to get any closer. Then I get to make my 3 ranged attacks, hitting on 3s. So I only got 1 hit, but that's another damage to Xandria, and she's down to 3. She's at 3 wounds remaining at the end of my turn.
So on to Xandria's turn. Now I get my hero phase first, and we're going to try and do Arcane Bolt as well. So needing a 5, getting an 8, but
I'll try and unbind that, and I'll need a 9 or more. I got an 11, so I successfully unbind the spell so it doesn't get cast.
And then I am going to move with Xandria because she's better in melee than the Briar Queen, and if I stand here I'll just get shot to bits by the shooting attacks, so we're going to move her up. But that'll be it for her turn because there's something else I can do.
It's on to my turn again, so I'll try and cast Arcane Bolt. Got it with a 7.
Try and unbind, needing an 8. Didn't, got a 7.
Yeah, so it's not unbound, so Xandria takes another damage. I'll choose to stay where I am, so I won't move. And then I'll make my 3 ranged attacks, hitting on 3s. That's 3 hits. So Xandria is killed. Victory for the Briar Queen.
Yep, so we'll set this up again and have another go, and then after that we'll try again with the extra models. So off we go again. Briar Queen gets to start again.
Yep, so starting with the hero phase, I'll try and cast Arcane Bolt. I get it with a 9 again.
Try and unbind, needing a 10. Nope, that's a 7.
So Xandria takes 1 damage. I won't move again, since I didn't need to last time. I'll make my ranged attacks. Getting 3 hits, so Xandria is straight down to 1 wound.
Yep, my turn now, so start with the hero phase, needing... I got an 11 for Arcane Bolt though, so that will be D3 wounds if you can't stop it.
Yeah, I need a 12. Don't get a 12, so I take D3 damage.
2, well that's alright, that's better than 1.
Briar Queen's down to 3.
Yep, she also has 5 wounds, don't know if I mentioned that. And then we're going to move, because I'm going to need to get closer somehow. So, moving to there at the end of Xandria's turn 1, onto Briar Queen.
Yep, starting off with Arcane Bolt again. Successfully cast with a 10, which is the big version.
Yep, that's D3 unless I can stop it, needing an 11. No, so she's only got 1.
D3 damage, 3,
yeah.
So it's a bit overkill.
So she gets blown away. I think we might have to go with that one again and let Xandria go first this time, just to see if she can actually reverse her fortunes by doing that. So, game number 3, and we're going to let Xandria go first this time in defiance of the magazine, just to see if she can get across the board and do something. But we start with the hero phase as before, so needing a 5 for Arcane Bolt. Oh, get that in the box. Well, obviously, yeah.
Obviously trying to unbind that, and I need a 9 or more. Nope. Briar Queen takes 1 damage.
Off we go again. Now it's on to the Briar Queen's turn.
Starting off with Arcane Bolt. Successfully cast with a 6.
Oh, but can I get 7 or more to unbind it? I can. So it doesn't go off.
So I will choose to move, just to get a little bit of extra distance. And I get to make 3 ranged attacks, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits, so Xandria takes 3 damage.
Xandria's hero phase, needing a 5 for Arcane Bolt. Oh, getting an 11.
Oh, an 11 again.
Yeah, doing well for those.
Need a 12.
Nope.
Nope, not a 9. So
D3 wounds, 2.
Down to 2.
So because the Briar Queen has moved, my 5 inches is not going to bring me within the 3 inches. Remember, we don't know about charging yet, so the only way to get into melee is to physically move up to somebody. So that's the end of Xandria's turn.
Yep, so starting off with Arcane Bolt again. Successfully cast again with a 6.
I could really do with unbinding this. Oh, I do with the 10.
I will move again, just to get right into the corner.
Yeah.
So now I have my 3 ranged attacks. Hitting on 3s. And I got 3 hits, so Xandria goes down.
Yeah. So I think we can see how these games are most likely to go. But we'll try now with the extra forces. And here we are, we've added the Gryph-hound to the Stormcast side, and we'll Thorns of the Briar Queen to the Nighthaunt side. The war scrolls for these are given in the magazine, just explain them as they become relevant in the game.
Yeah, the magazine didn't give us any idea of how to deploy these units, so we just put them alongside the heroes.
But the Nighthaunt get to go first, as usual.
So we start off with the hero phase. Briar King will try to cast Arcane Bolt, yielding a 5. So I'll successfully cast with a 7.
So I can try and unbind that in 8. I did not get an 8.
So I will pick Xandria as the target, so she takes 1 damage. I will move the Briar Queen just in case. While the Thorns, Gryph-hound can move 9, so it can probably actually get into melee, so I'll just move them along a little bit to screen the Briar Queen. So that's all my movement done. Now I get to make my ranged attacks. I'll have the Briar Queen shoot at Xandria again. 3 shots hitting on 3s. And we got 2 hits, so she's down to 2 wounds.
That's my turn. In the hero phase, we will start with Arcane Bolt. Pick my target after we see if it goes off. Got it with a 9.
Yeah, and I'll try and unbind it, and I need a 10 or more, which I do.
Right, so it doesn't go off. Then movement. So Xandria can move 5. And the Gryph-hound can move 9 inches, which won't be quite enough to get it into melee range. But that's it for my turn, because the Gryph-hound isn't quite within 3 inches of anybody. Can't pile into melee.
Yeah, so back to the Nighthaunt. Start in the hero phase. Try and cast Arcane Bolt again. Successful with a 7.
Needing an 8 to unbind. Nope.
So I'll pick Xandria as the target once again. She's down to 1. Actually, the Briar Queen will stay where she is. And the Thorns will move just enough to get within 3 inches of the Gryph-hound, but not Xandria.
Remember that as the rules we have at the moment, you can just move within 3 inches of the model.
There is no, you don't have to make a charge roll. Yeah, now it's the ranged attack, so the Briar Queen will shoot at Xandria. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. Only 1 hit, but that is going to be enough to take her out. We have the combat phase. The Thorns get to pile in up to 3 inches. Each Thorn has 2 attacks. 12 dice, hitting on 4s, and the Gryph-hound has 3 wounds. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. But that'll be victory for the Nighthaunt.
Right, we'll have another go with these forces as well. Let the Stormcast go first to see if they actually get into melee. And set up again, and we'll let the Stormcast Eternals go first this time. So starting with the hero phase, Arcane Bolt, getting it with a 6.
Yeah, try and unbind that, need a 7 or more. Yep, got it with an 8.
And then movement, so we'll send the Gryph-hound in, and then Xandria will follow up behind. And that's it for the Stormcast Eternals.
Nighthaunt turn, start with Arcane Bolt again. Successfully cast it with a 6.
Let's try and unbind. I got it with an 11, so it doesn't.
Then movement, Thorns, and move so they're within 3 of the Gryph-hound, but not Xandria. So I'll have the Briar Queen shoot at Xandria. 3 attacks hitting on 3s. It's 3 hits, so she's down to 2 wounds. I'm going to try and pile in, try and stay more than 3 inches away from Xandria, otherwise she'll be able to get in. So we'll probably only be able to get 3 actually into base contact with Gryph-hound, so we only get 6 attacks on it. Only 3 Chainrasps are in range, so you've got 6 attacks hitting on 4s. That's only 2 hits, so Gryph-hound is down to 1 wound, but gets to strike back.
And the Gryph-hound gets 2 attacks hitting on 3s, obviously on the Thorns. 1 of them hits, so that's a dead.
So only 1 damage each, so I'll take away. It's on to the Stormcaster.
So hero phase first, Arcane Bolt. Just about gets it with a 5.
Now I'll try and unbind that, hitting 6, yep, with an 8.
But I can't retreat the Gryph-hound, and I have to keep Xandria more than 3 inches from the Chainrasp in order to. So Xandria will move to there. I'm going to have to pile into the Thorns, but I don't think they're going to be able to get round. We've made probably a slight mistake given how the rules in the magazine are presented, but forgot how simple they are. The Gryph-hound probably shouldn't have attacked after the Chainrasp had attacked it, because technically the way the magazine lays it out is the Nighthaunt player does all their stuff. Stormcast don't get to attack at the end of the Nighthaunt turn, like they would in the full game. In other words, I have to wait till my turn to actually make the Gryph-hound's melee attacks, and likewise the Nighthaunt don't get to attack in my turn. So what we're going to do is just treat the attack I did last turn as the Gryph-hound's melee attacks for this turn, so I won't attack with it again in my turn. We'll talk about that a bit more in the outro.
Yeah.
But anyway, in my turn, Xandria still gets to pile in. Xandria isn't within 3 inches of the Briar Queen to be able to attack her, but if I move like this, I will get within 3 inches of her, which, because of the simplicity of the rules, it prevents her from running away, because she can't move out as much as in melee.
She's now engaged, so she can't retreat.
Yeah, and she doesn't have a melee attack yet, so I'm not at any greater risk than I was before from her shooting. But now Xandria gets to make her melee attacks, and these are 3 attacks hitting on 3s, and they've all hit,
and she does D3 damage apiece.
So that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So that won't be enough.
That'll be enough to wipe out the Thorns.
Yeah. So Xandria kills all 5 of the remaining Thorns. Well, as discussed before, there was probably one left, but then the Gryph-hound made its attacks and killed it. We just rolled it out of sequence, so it all works out. So, as discussed, the Nighthaunt do not get to attack in this turn, but we move on to the Nighthaunt turn.
So, we start with the hero phase. I'm going to try and cast Arcane Bolt. I successfully cast it with a 6.
Can I unbind it? It'd be quite good if I could. I can,
Yeah.
so it doesn't go off.
So, I cannot move because I'm within 3 inches. But I get to shoot, so I will shoot at Xandria. Hitting on 3, so I get 3 hits, so I would take out Xandria.
So the Gryph-hound will move to within 3 inches of the Briar Queen, try and avenge Xandria. It moves and then it passes in, and it has 2 attacks hitting on 3s. They both hit.
2 damage, so she's down to 3. Her turn again, so I'll try and cast Arcane Bolt. And I successfully cast it with an 8.
I can't unbind it because Xandria's not on board.
Yeah, and I'll hit the Gryph-hound and do 1 damage and it will die. So that will be victory for the Nighthaunt once again.
So that was our games for this issue. We'll give you our thoughts and roundup of all that straight away. So that was issue 6 of Mortal Realms magazine. What did you think of all that?
So I think it makes Xandria Azurebolt probably look worse than she actually is. Due to the rules set we're currently using, she probably dies much too easily. And if she actually got into melee with the Briar Queen, probably win fairly easily.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw what she could do to a whole unit of Chainrasps in the previous issue, and she didn't have that much trouble with them. In one of the games, she got close enough that if we were using the full rules, she would have been able to make a charge roll.
Yeah.
She is superior in melee, but she doesn't have a ranged attack, so running across the board, especially if she doesn't get to go first, is always going to be a disadvantage.
Yeah, and the fact that I can just shoot you to bits before you arrive.
Yeah, and as we said before, we don't know how to roll to wound yet, and we don't have save rolls. So, again, those things would also improve her survivability considerably. So it's just down to the statistics of exactly how the game works in this simple way. And obviously, the Briar Queen is a wizard for the Nighthaunt now, so you get to have something to do in the hero phase as well when you've got her.
Yeah, and I think she has some unique spells and that sort of thing. I'm sure we'll learn about that eventually.
Yeah, because it kind of feels a bit like the 2 wizards are basically the same at the moment.
Yeah,
but,
on paper, just Arcane Bolt.
Yeah, but they will become distinct eventually.
And the Thorns of the Briar Queen, I think the way they work, if you take the Briar Queen, you have to bring the Thorns with her. But they're essentially just like a smaller unit of Chainrasp with maybe a very slightly different rule. But the other thing about them is that the Thorns of the Briar Queen were actually originally from the sort of spin-off game called Warhammer Underworlds, or Warband, that I think it's called. And that has its own, basically an entirely different rule set to the Age of Sigmar tabletop.
It's much more like a board game in some respects, but it's also a deck-building card game.
But you can use all those warbands in the tabletop.
And I mean, I like the models as well. They're just got a bit more character than some of the other Chainrasps.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's Raklav. The one with the keys, the sort of jailer type with the candle, was a special character in Underworlds, as was the Hanged Man, I believe the other one was. They had special rules in Underworlds. They were slightly more interesting than just regular Chainrasps. As you might guess from the intro, it has been probably about 2 months since we've last played this game due to the lockdown. So we sort of confused ourselves and started playing the game using rules that we were familiar with in a way the magazine hadn't specified yet. Although it's a bit confusing, the magazine just says, try it with these units. But it's like, you have multiple units now, so in what order do they go? The last time we had multiple units, it was the Cascaders, then the Gryph-hound, then the Chainrasp, and then you went round again. Yeah. There was no distinct Nighthaunt turn and Stormcast turn.
It doesn't really give a clear way of doing it. It just says, maybe you'd like to add these units.
Yeah.
And although we are new to Age of Sigmar, we do have some idea of the basic structure of the game, so that sometimes just means we end up getting confused, or we're trying to overcomplicate things. Like, for example, accidentally attacking with the Gryph-hound, just because that's what normally happens in these kind of games, but actually, by the letter of what the magazine says, we shouldn't have. It'd be interesting to know, actually, if any of you if you're just following the rules in the magazine and this is your first time with anything of this sort, how confusing or otherwise did you find the rules? It'd be interesting to see what you think if you are new to this completely.
Yeah, and this magazine is probably intended towards people who are completely new to wargaming as a whole, as opposed to just Age of Sigmar.
I like the fact that it does go over every turn in minute detail. This is your turn, this is what the series of steps you do, then you move on. Yeah,
and they usually do multiple turns as well, as you can see how things might be different now the situation has changed.
Again, if you're new to all this, let us know. Does it help to have all that stuff spelled out to prevent it all becoming overwhelming? Just a final note as well, as we said at the beginning, we are recording this during the COVID-19 pandemic. As we said, restrictions have eased enough where we are to continue filming, but maintaining social distancing measures. And
in fact, our local gaming store has actually been allowed to open and have people play tabletop with some restrictions, so we feel we can film with those restrictions in place.
So we do hope to continue to bring you some content now that we can do some more filming again, but
the situation may change again in the future, but we'll try and do as much as we can.
Anyway, that'd be all for this episode. So if you liked what you've seen, then please give us a like and subscribe. If you have comments on the battles, if you've played these yourselves, and as we said, if you have more insight on the way all of this is going so far, then do let us know. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye for now.